The World Series of Poker main event is underway, and this year's field ended up with 9,208 entries, a notable downturn in entries over the past few years. The main event started back in 1970, where 7 people entered. Certainly, we've come a long way from there, and in the era, we saw fields balloon to over 1,000 entries a year. We've seen more and more people play the main event. However, in the last few years, that has shifted. The all-time peak was 2024, where we saw 10,112 entries, but the last couple of years we've seen that decline. 97.35 last year when Michael Mizrachi took home the bracelet, and this year we will have only 9,208 entries. That's almost a 5% decline. There's been a lot of speculation as to why the main event is getting smaller. Now, we have to put a quick caveat in here. We still have 9,200 people that want to go play a poker tournament, but there are a few reasons I can see a decline possible. With the passing of the big, beautiful bill, there was a 90% deduction on gambling losses, down from 100%, and many poker players have stopped playing poker tournaments. In fact, most notably, players like Eric Seidel or Dan Smith have both more or less stopped playing tournaments until we get clarity or some sort of solution when it comes to being able to write off all of your losses. And that seems fair to me. I mean, the fact that you can buy in for 100 grand, cash for 100 grand, and owe taxes on 10K, that's insane to me. Now, both of those players still are playing some poker tournaments. They're just not playing in many high rollers anymore, it would appear. But I imagine that there are many players on a smaller level that don't want to deal with that kind of tax burden, and I would imagine this sort of effect could have a negative impact for gaming as a whole moving forward. Some people seem to think it might be Bitcoin related. I'm going to have to push back on that pretty strongly, because in 2013 we had over 10,000 entries and Bitcoin was half the price it is today. It was in the high 20s back then, despite being $64,000 today. So as ingrained as the poker community is in crypto, I don't think that's the reason for a shortcoming in the WSOP turnout. I think the other major reason is that we are seeing more and more localized gambling or online gambling in different states, or totally not gambling like prediction markets. Oh, I'm not gambling. I just think the Knicks are going to win tonight. It's more of a prediction. For many years, Las Vegas had a clear advantage in that you had to go out to Las Vegas to gamble unless you knew a shady guy that might break your kneecaps. Many outlets have been noting this decline in turnout to Las Vegas, and while Las Vegas prices may also play some sort of role, I really do think the fact that you can now gamble pretty much wherever, online or in person, constantly, is certainly playing a role in declining fields. I think there's one last thing people might not be considering as well. The poker demographic as a whole is aging. Unfortunately, we have a lack of new players entering the game like we had 10, 15, 20 years ago. I think in part because of Black Friday and the lack of many good places to play online, although you now can use code Doug for 10 free chips. And I think all of these things are sort of stacking together to see a decline. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the future, but let's move on.